or good afternoon based on where you are in the world. And I want to welcome you to Pitchly Pointers. I'm Jamie Addison, and I'm joined by my colleague in customer success, Savannah Coatridge. We are bringing to you our monthly iteration of Pitchly Pointers, which is something that we've put together just to share tips and tricks on how to get the most out of Pitchly. We will be sending out a survey at the conclusion of the webinar, and this is just so that we can get feedback on how we did, and then most importantly, get suggestions for future topics. So if you have anything that you've been thinking of that you really want us to cover, please fill out that survey and let us know, because we will fold that into the topics that we cover in the future. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm sharing my screen, and I want to go through a quick agenda and what we intend to cover today. So we're going to talk about what is Pitchly, and this is for anyone who may be new to Pitchly or new to their organization. And the tips and tricks that we're going to cover today is how to add and update information in the database, how to search and filter for that data once you've added it, and then, of course, how to get your information out, so exporting content. So what is Pitchly? Again, this is for anyone who may be new to their organization or maybe just new to the organization's Pitchly account. So Pitchly is a cloud-based solution that allows you to store and transform your data across the organization, and with the ultimate goal of creating that one source of truth. So whether you're storing information in spreadsheets, presentations, or other firm systems, Pitchly can absorb all of that data and then allow you to segment that information in a meaningful way to get your job done quicker and easier, right? So the great thing about Pitchly is that it doesn't stop just at a database. We have various applications that you can layer onto that database that allow you to then transform that data. So then within just a few clicks of a button, you're able to generate assets such as a collection of tombstones, biographies, case studies, proposals, so on and so forth. So that's Pitchly in a nutshell. And what I want to do now is jump into an account to show you around the few things that we want to cover today. Okay, so the first thing we want to touch on is how to get information in here. So the quickest way to do that is within this main view is to click on New Row. When you click on New Row, you're going to see all of the fields that are stored within your account that you can then populate. So you basically, it's pretty simple and straightforward. Fill out this form. A couple of things here that you may notice is that if you see a field that has this little magnifying glass and a search function, that means that there's a relationship built across this table to another table. So you can search for information that's stored elsewhere and pull it into this record. So for this example, for clients and companies, I can search for any client or company that's already stored in this database. So I'm not having to type out Bank of America fully each and every time I want to add them to a record, find their logo on a drive, and then add it in. No, we've done that work once. And so every time I need to add them to a record, it's available to me to add. You'll also see there's an option to create new. So you don't have to leave this view if there's an entity that may not be available to you here in this list. You can simply create that record right within this exact same view, fill out this form, drop in the logo or any other information that you need, hit create, and then that information becomes instantly available to you within this view. So again, I'm not going to do this here, but you would fill out this entire form, click create, and then that record would be available to you in the first position within your database. Not only available to you, but anyone with access to your account. Okay, and once you add records to the system, you can actually instantly update them too. So to update any record within the database, you'll notice these two little expansion arrows. If you click on those, that expands out that entire record. And then you can process any updates. You can change information, delete information, anything you need to do within the record. You can process that here. Click update, and that information is instantly saved to that record for you and anyone with access to your account to view. Another way to update records within this view, if you did not want to expand out that entire record, you can actually click on any of the fields. If you just click a field, it activates that singular field. So you can update, make changes to that single field. here, click update, and that change is instantly processed. You can do that on any of the fields. If you click on that field, just one click, it'll activate that field and allow you to process any updates that you need to make. So that's one way that you can get information in here. Another way is by using this import tool. So let's say you have a spreadsheet or a bunch of spreadsheets that you're trying to kind of wrap arms around and you want to add into the system. A good tool might be at your disposal may be to use this import tool. But I do like to encourage people to do a bit of pre-work before you do import information into the system. So one thing that may be helpful for you to do is actually to export a record out of the system. And if you click a record and then click here to export to CSV file, export this one row, what this is going to give you is all of the field names that are stored into your database in a singular CSV spreadsheet. And what this does is you can think of this as kind of like your upload template. So I can delete out this record because this is already in there, but I can use this as my template to import information into the system. So it already has all of the field names that are stored within my account in this first header row. I can just copy and paste the applicable information that I have across my various documents into this singular file and prepare to import into the system. A couple of things that you want to note in that prep work is you want to have a good understanding of the field types that are stored in your system. And what do I mean by that? So the different types you'll see within this managed database area. So if you click on these little three dots here at the top to activate your managed database area, the second column will let you know the various types that are stored within your database. So here we see this is a reference field, single line text, drop down field. Things that you really want to be cognizant of is your drop down fields. When you have list options, you have to be sure that the information that you're importing into the system matches to the options that are actually available in the system. So for example, for practice areas, if I click on that pencil, it'll show me all of the options that I have available to me. So IP would be a good example. So if in my spreadsheet that I'm importing, all of my IP instances are actually spelled out to say intellectual property, I need to make a decision. So what I can do is either update my spreadsheet so that I change all instances of intellectual property to IP for the practice area designation, or another workaround I could do is if it was easier for me just to update this option here, I could just change the way it's reflected here so that it matches my spreadsheet. So I could just spell it out here. It's not going to, interfere with any of your existing records. It's just going to update your existing records so that it's spelled out on all of them. And let me show you how that looks in real time. You'll see now that intellectual property is actually spelled out now instead of short named as IP. So now it will match everything that's in my spreadsheet and it will populate the record once I import it. Another thing or a common issue that we see when you're running the imports is that in the date or currency fields, there may be additional commentary or notes in there because for some reason that's a common practice when people have the free will to put anything they want in a spreadsheet or a document. So you'll want to clean up those bits of information too, because the system won't recognize it at the import. So once you've prepped your spreadsheet, click import, select your spreadsheet, leave that on auto detect because it'll detect the delimiter for you. And this is the field mapping area. So here you'll notice that it says don't import here. And what this is telling me is that perhaps the name of the column header in my spreadsheet is different from the actual field name in my database table, but that's okay because here you can map that information. So I could see what is it named in my spreadsheet. Oh, it's named client name instead of client. Well, you can tell the system to map the instances where you see client name in that column to the client field within your database. Another cool thing is that you do have the option to update information to existing records in this process. And you do that by activating the field matching tool. So with the field matching tool, you're telling the system, if you find a match for a specific identifier or unique identifier, a good one to use would be client matter number in this instance. So I'm going to turn on the field matching tool, which you'll notice is activated by that equal sign. So what we're saying here is that if the client matter number in my spreadsheet matches a client matter number that you find in the database, instead of adding a new record, what I want you to do is update that record. So that's a very helpful tool and a way to process updates and additions to your database in one swoop. So we'll click next here, and it'll give you a summary to tell you 2 rows are going to be imported across 41 fields. You do begin import. And then once that's complete, it'll tell you the results. So here we added 1 new row and then we updated a row. That new row that was added is going to be available in that first position. And I know which row was updated. We changed the practice area of this one to corporate instead of, I believe it was at environmental beforehand. So that's the second way that you can add and make updates to information in your system. The third way is using the forms application. So if your account has the forms application added onto it, this is a very, very helpful way, not only for you to add updates to the system, but for your colleagues and people who may not be actual users of Pitchly. You can collect information from others who may not have a Pitchly login. So let me tell you how to do that. You can save a shareable link either to your favorites in your web browser or maybe to your company intranet page, and simply click on the link to the form. I have this one saved to my web browser. And again, just simply begin populating the form. The same thing that you were able to do to search for client entities, you can do here. And then just continue to populate the form. You can do this. This would be helpful to maybe anyone who's like me, who from time to time can forget a password. I mean, we have millions of them at this point in life. Sometimes I forget my password. And so this would be super helpful to me if I have to quickly add information to the system, but I don't want to log into my account at the moment because I'm in the midst of something. I could submit this information, and based on how your account is set up, this information would either go to a holding pen or a holding queue for your system admin to review prior to approving it and flowing to your system, or it can flow directly to your system if your account is set up to do that. So that's the third way that you can add information to your database. So you have either by using the new row function, the import function, or using the form. So let's talk about how to find information once you have added it to your account. A couple of different ways to do that. You can either use this table search feature here to do a keyword search. So that's going to highlight every instance where that keyword is available in your database. So that's one way. And then you can also use the filter panel here on the left-hand side of your screen to search based on the fields that are available to your account. So if you wanted to search for a specific department or practice area, you can drill down in that fashion. And then when it comes to exporting information out of your system, you can do that again directly here by exporting to a spreadsheet, or you can come over to your documents application and then export a collection of tombstones or whatever available asset that your organization has created a template for. So if I select all of these, click export. Here I have the ability to export this information to either a PowerPoint file, or I can export them to a PNG image file by changing the format here from PowerPoint to PNG image. And if I select to export this as an image, each page is going to come out as its own individual image file. So again, the ways to export that information out is also ways to generate proposals as well, based on the information or the applications that are stored within your account. So if you have any questions at any point, you can reach our team by emailing pitchlysupport@pitchly.com. You can also click on this purple plane here at the bottom right hand corner of your screen at all times to access our resource center, which is a collection of articles and guides that will help guide you through using your account. And then there's also a contact us feature loaded here as well. So again, thank you so much for joining, and look out for our invite for our next session next month. Have a great rest of the day.